Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weird, wonderful world. I'll try to keep this short, but I can't make any promises. Again, I'm doing this off the top of my head. I just came up with the idea just maybe about 20 minutes ago. And I mean, it's an idea I was kind of toying with for the last day or so, but I decided, yeah, why not talk about it? And I just want to say, I could have been milking the passing of a great legend this weekend, but there was enough content on the internet to do with him, and you know, it's a tragedy and it's a great loss, and he will be well remembered. But it's time to move on, and I want to talk about other bands, and I want to talk about other music. Not saying that I won't come back to it eventually, and that I don't want to listen to his wonderful music some more, because I do, and I'll get back to that when I can. But right now, because of I want to talk about the band that I talked about in yesterday's video, where I had watched three of their movies, and it got me on a little bit of a kick about this band, and and then when I was started to think about other bands that are often compared with the Beatles, that are often at the same side. Okay, so I'm sorry, but by no means are they my favorite band. I grew up in a different era. I had a different mentality about music growing up, and I've been very naive about certain type of music. My whole point of view and the way I saw the Beatles was so, and I will admit, 100% narrow-minded. Narrow-minded. I saw them through a tube, and I wasn't getting the full picture of how the Beatles are. There was a certain perception of the Beatles that, of being larger than life. They were before my time. They were of a certain bygone era. I was into the new and improved, and the spectacular, and especially as a young kid being into Kiss and even Alice Cooper, and all those very theatrical, very even listening to stuff like Meatloaf, for example, is very theatrical, and paved the way to like stuff like Metallica, Megadeth, something that's in your face. And I had no time to pay attention to a sweet old little band like Beatles. I was aware of them. I heard a lot of the popular songs, but there was just so much I was missing. And it's not until the last 5 years, okay? So for like 50 years, I've been kind of, you know, perceiving the Beatles with a bit of a blinders on. I had my interest in music, but when starting this channel, which is within the last 5 years, of course, that I started this channel, this also helped me have an appreciation for the Beatles. Watching channels like Larry Graves, also known as the Canadian Stud Muffin, again heightened my love for the Beatles. Even listening to Glenn Calloway from the Basement diss the Beatles, even though he still loves the Beatles. Don't get him wrong, but he'd been oversaturated with the Beatles. Me, okay, myself personally, I have not somehow I've been spared that saturation, that oversaturation of the Beatles. So I'm sort of coming at it from a fresh perspective in many ways. How it opened up my mind, and just to show you how much of an impact that they have made in my life in the last few years. Now, I've been since restarting my music collection since 2012. Since 2012, that's when I restarted my music collection. Now I'm nearly at 800 CDs. I have 792 CDs. That is my current count. So I'm eight away from 800. And out of all those CDs that I started collecting since 2012, okay, I now have all the Beatles that I need. I mean, they're all in this box, and I keep it with other peripherals. Okay, but those are peripherals. This right here is the essential. It's all the albums plus the Let It Be, Naked, and of course there's the Live at the BBC, and then there's Love, of course. But I have all now. Again, thanks to thanks to Larry Grace for sending me past masters. I have them all now, and I'm so happy. But and this is the whole point of this video, is that when it comes to comparing the Beatles to other bands of its time, okay, remember, again, my top five favorite bands is Tool, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Sparks, Rush, and and Bell and Sebastian. Those are my top five favorite bands. You know, although the Beatles is in my top 20 for sure, but I'm not even sure if I would categorize them even in my top 10. But just to show how much of an impact they still have on my life, I have all the Beatles right now. Okay, but who's one of the top bands that are often compared alongside, and people say, well, which one do you like? When they usually ask for a comparison, they say, which one do you like more? Do you like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones? This is all I own of the Rolling Stones. A couple of greatest hits, and it has some different stuff on it. I don't know if you can see that, how well you can see that, but those are the songs that I have of Rolling Stones. I like them all; they're all great. But I have no interest in collecting all of the Rolling Stones, and I'm not in a hurry to collect any Rolling Stones. I will probably eventually start getting some Rolling Stones, you know. But just to go to show, again, when it comes to Beatles versus Rolling Stones, Beatles. Um, Personally, growing up, my entire life, especially as a kid, who the Beatles were always being compared to, rather not the Rolling Stones. They were never being compared to the Rolling Stones when I was a kid growing up. They were always being compared to Elvis. And even in the deleted scene from the movie Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino, when when uh, when John Travolta's character Vincent Vega supposedly meets Uma Thurman's character. Okay, she's videotapes him and she asks him a couple of questions, and one of the questions is, are you an Elvis man or are you a Beatles man? And you are the you're you like one. You can like them both, but you have to like, you usually will like one over the other. And of course, by the look of him, she assumes that, okay, you're obviously an Elvis man, okay, because you dress more like Elvis. But yeah, it's Elvis. But no, coming over, choosing between Elvis and the Beatles, of course, again, is the Beatles. I don't own anything of Elvis. I don't own anything of Elvis, nor do I even want to. I don't want even anything from Elvis. I'd rather get everything I can from Johnny Cash before. And again, I have all. I wanted to get all the Beatles stuff long before I get any of all the Johnny Cash. So now I can claim that I do. But yeah, just that's all I have of the Rolling Stones. Other bands that were often compared to the Beatles. So another band that's often compared to the Beatles is the Beach Boys. The American Beatles. But no, it's again, this is all I have of the Beach Boys. I love the Beach Boys, and I do want I do want to get everything from the Beach Boys. I didn't prepare it, but I could also throw the Monkees into that comparison too. Oh, because the Monkees were designed to be influenced by the Beatles in some way. The appeal of the Beatles on a TV show. what the Monkees are supposed to be, and I have some good stuff from Monkees too. Another band that the Beatles are often compared to, and again I have all the Beatles, but I don't have all of this band, is the Moody Blues. And the only reason I have these Moody Blues albums is because of Larry Graves. Again, because of Larry Graves rekindling my interest in bands like this. So and opening my mind to rediscover them. So that's why I have those. But yeah, again, because of Larry Graves is the reason why I have all the Beatles. Because what stands out different from the Beatles from all these other bands, including bands like the Bee Gees, including bands like the Herman's Hermits, or even the Animals, and that is that a lot of those bands were already influenced by the Beatles. The Beatles were doing things that other bands were not doing. They were at their time, the most innovative band going. They were doing things for the first time that no band was ever doing before. And and but on the other end of that same token is how simply brilliantly clear and precise their songwriting was. There was no extra filler that didn't need to be in there. It was just straightforward, just you know, perfectly constructed pop songs that you know, captured the world. And as Larry Graves said in that comment he gave to me on my review of the movies that I watched of the Beatles, I was not even aware of how their personalities were portrayed through those kind of movies. If I would have seen those movies growing up at the time, when I was a kid, because they were already out. All that stuff was already out before I was born. So how I didn't get the chance to see any of that. I mean, the closest thing I have seen was just all I remember most. The first thing I remember as a kid was seeing the trailer for A Hard Day's Night, and that was it. And then eventually seeing the trailer for A Yellow Submarine, but never had a chance to actually see the movies until later on. I mean, other bands that were associated with the Beatles at the time would be the Byrds, would be Badfinger, Big Star, the Trogs, the Hollies, just to name a few others. But I don't have any of those. I don't have any of those. I have very little of the other stuff. But but I have all the Beatles. I have all the Beatles because they were such a monumental and big band, and if I'm going to talk about them, I'm going to talk about them because I do actually really love them, and I need to figure out how much I love them. I mean, they're not in my top five. They cannot be because I have my reasons for my top five, and that will always be the top five. Whereas, well, for as long as I can think of. I can't think unless something comes along that's going to knock it off his perch. But yeah, but nope, that's pretty much it. Yeah, okay, I'm going to let you go. I think I've babbled on long enough. I don't want to drag this out. I just want to show you that when it comes to my love for the Beatles, that I'm starting to really dive deep in there, and I do want more. I mean, I have this here also in the box of the Beatles stuff, with John Lennon, the Paul McCartney, and these two knockoff bootlegs, from Stargrove. That this is, this is good. This is good. And I'm still going to keep these, right? But these are not even these. I don't need to keep. I don't need to keep because I mean they're a pretty good mix. Okay, but this is so much of a better mix. I can actually I rather buy more of the better official mix, and I think I am actually going to get rid of these because I don't consider them official. This I'll put separately in its own category, as I will be getting more Paul McCartney and John Lennon stuff. Maybe even a couple of Ringo and George Harrison stuff too. We'll see about that. But when it comes to just official Beatles stuff, I do want to get a few more of the peripherals and fill that up more with just more of the official Beatles stuff. All right, now I'm done. I want to let you go, of course. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, what are you waiting for? Please do, because I will love you forever and greatly appreciate it. Don't be afraid to hit the like button and leave me comments. I do love hearing from you, even if I'm bad sometimes at responding. I do try to respond. I don't always have the time to respond in a promptly manner like I want to, but I do always love hearing from you, and I do read every comment. You will at least get a like from a channel heart from me that says I loved your comment and that. So okay, I am done. As usual, I like to just say to please be safe and take care. I will see you on the flip side, and please, everybody, just have a great day, evening, morning, night, or afternoon, wherever you may be. Peace, everybody.